Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness.
This is episode 80.
We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
Welcome to Let's Be Well Together. This is Elise Seifert here with Sheila Webster.
Hi, Elise.
Hi, you're here for What's on Your Mind.
We are. And we are continuing our India series.
That's right.
So where are we going now?
Today we are heading to Varanasi, the holy city in India.
Beautiful. And Elise, where in India is Varanasi?
So Varanasi is northeast of New Delhi.
Okay. And we flew there from Delhi?
Yes, we flew there from Delhi.
I don't remember. Yes, we did.
We were trying to take a train, but trying to navigate the train system in India was a little difficult for us.
Right.
We ended up not being able to take a train there, but we were waitlisted to take a train back.
Right.
So we flew initially into Varanasi from New Delhi.
Okay.
And it was a short flight. Mm-hmm. And then we took a train ride back, and I believe it was an overnight train ride.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we flew in, and then we took a taxi to as close as we could to our hotel.
Yes. So what we learned was that cars could not go past a certain point into the old part of the city.
Right.
So he took us as far as he could, and he said, all right, now you have to walk. Mm-hmm. And we were very surprised. We did not expect that.
No.
And we start to enter into this city that looked to me just like an ancient city. This is how I would imagine an ancient city to be. So it was narrow alleys and windy alleys.
To me, it seemed like a maze.
It was kind of like a maze.
I was like, oh my gosh, we're entering into a maze and we really have no idea where we're going.
No, he kind of gave us quick, turn here, turn here, turn here. We had no clue.
No clue. And the roads were so windy that we weren't really sure where we were turning and how. And that one more thing that we had, which was a problem, was 3 of us had backpacks.
Yes.
But one of us had a rolling suitcase.
Which is very difficult in the terrain. It was very bumpy.
Yes, it was like that old stone sidewalks that are very bumpy. And so we had to take turns carrying that suitcase.
Right. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, because it was impossible. And it was big. So these are small walkways. And of course, there's a lot of people.
So many people. Not just people, but also animals.
Yes.
So there were cows and goats and lambs. Mm-hmm. So we had to navigate our way with our bags around that.
Yes. So that was quite the experience itself, just to get there. And I don't know how old Varanasi was, how old this part of the city was, but to me it seemed so sacred and so old.
Ancient.
Yes. That it was like entering a different world.
It really was. And we got so lost. And someone fortunately came to our rescue.
Yes.
Asked us where we were looking for and took us to our hotel, which was so kind.
Because it was a little scary because I wasn't sure if they were actually going to take us. Sometimes when you run into people, they want you to go to their hotel or they want you to go their store or wherever they want to take you. So I wasn't sure if we could trust this person, but we really had no choice. We didn't know where we were going. And they actually took us to where we had to go, which was just
a relief. It was.
And when we got to our hotel, it was lovely because when you went in, there was it was kind of like a square. And in the middle of the square was this little garden and this little area. And so it was a restaurant in itself. So you didn't have to go out of the hotel to get something to eat. But it was just like this little hotel with these rooms all kind of around it. It was just beautiful.
Like a community. And it also had a balcony overlooking the Ganges River.
Which was amazing. So
the Ganges River is considered a holy body of water in India. So people want to make the pilgrimage to India once in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. So Varanasi is known as the holy city in India, which is a big draw for us, why we wanted to go there to see what the city was like and all of the people who were there, and we just couldn't believe the volume of people.
Could not believe the volume of people. And the fact that our hotel was right there, right on the Ganges. So we could just go downstairs, and you kind of went through these stairways that were like walking through a tunnel almost to get down. And then you're right on the Ganges, and you walk along the river, and you get to this certain area where there's all these festivals, all these sacred prayer rituals are going on.
That's
and
right.
So I think they went on maybe every few hours that they do them.
That's right. So they had various rituals that they would perform throughout the day. And you'd also see a lot of people washing things in the Ganges River, washing their clothes, washing their dishes, swimming in the river to experience the holiness of it. And we were lucky enough to watch some of the rituals that they had, and just to see the gathering of people. I think that we were told that there were thousands of people a day who visited Varanasi.
Who did that pilgrim. And we also then, they sell a lot of flowers that you give to the water. So you have this candle, and you put these flowers on this little boat around this little candle. You light the candle, and you say a prayer, and you send it off into the Ganges.
It was beautiful to see. I think the nighttime was my favorite time for the rituals. They had some rituals that included fire and fire movement. So they would have that happen every night, and we got to watch that, which was a really amazing experience.
And I thought it was really cool because they weren't new fangled rituals. Like, they didn't have fancy lights and, sound, and they were very basic.
I found humble.
Yeah. Rituals, which were just so beautiful. And people sat, and they had these little stairs that were made of stone that you would just walk up, and if you're going to the market or going up. But when the ceremonies were going on, they had people sitting all over them. So many people just sitting there appreciating, and it was so cool to be amongst everyone, not really knowing what was going on, but
just enjoying the general ambiance and the community of it.
It was amazing.
Was really special. And we got to ride on a boat on the Ganges River as well.
We did.
Being able to see all of the people from, I guess, a different perspective. So being on the water, and we'd be going along, and you would see all of these people coming to the shore for various reasons. We saw lots of traditional events. So we saw weddings and funerals, and also people, like we said before, just bathing or washing in the Ganges. It was really special to see how people used the river in a sacred way.
And we did do a tour. So we did a walking tour in these windy roads where there's no cars allowed. And this tour, they took us to just this one lady, and she took us to different temples throughout the area. And she took us to Muslim temples, to Buddhist temples, and to Hindu temples. And that was incredibly interesting that all these religions shared this area.
It was very interesting. I think I had assumed that it would mostly be just one religion. So it was great to see different religions within the same place.
Celebrating this area. Yeah, I thought that was really, really neat. And that is where we bought some silk. Yes.
Something I found that was really interesting in India as a whole was that whenever you would go on a tour, afterwards they would take you to see a certain trade that they had been working on. So I think that Varanasi has a lot of silk trade.
Okay.
So they had taken us to a silk shop, and we all, I think, bought.
We did. We
something.
All bought like either a dress piece, and I bought a beautiful artwork.
You did.
And
it was gorgeous.
Yes. And it's at the front of the house. So it's silk, and I just framed it, and it is beautiful. And it reminds me of India and Varanasi, of course. And so that was really fun too. Actually, I really did enjoy that.
It was great. And I know you go on these tours, and then you end up at these shops, and you feel like you have to buy something.
Yeah.
But I found in general, they weren't so pushy.
No.
And the products really sold themselves. You could see why India had so many great products that they would ship historically, because they had just great quality items. So
they'd show us, and they actually made these outfits to fit our bodies. So
they adjusted them for us.
Yeah, they adjusted them. They took your measurements and adjusted it and made it these saris and shirts and tunics. Yes, just to fit us. So we picked what material we wanted, and then we came back the next day to pick it up. So that was really cool that we all have that. And I actually wore that to Matthew's wedding.
Did you?
I did.
Yes. Oh, that's so nice.
It was. That was quite the experience. So now, Elise, we're leaving Varanasi.
Oh, yes.
We have to tell this story.
Sheila really wanted to experience the train in India, the train experience. So we were working really hard to get tickets. But like I said, it was a little difficult to navigate the train system. You could only purchase tickets within a certain window. And whenever I would go to purchase the tickets online, they just sold out instantly. I think because of the volume of people who were using the tickets. But we got waitlisted and we had some spots on a train.
Now, Elise, did we have first class or second class, or do you remember?
I think that they were listed as second class tickets, but they could have been third class tickets. So the way that they're divided in India, first versus second versus third, is the number of bunks within the train. So for the third class, there's 3 bunk beds.
Okay, well, we only had 2.
Okay, so we must have been the second class.
Okay.
So second class, it's 2 bunk beds. So there was a bottom bunk and a top bunk.
Yes.
So we arrive at the train station and it is busy. I don't even know. Is there another word bigger than busy? Because that's what it was.
And it was just Elise and I, and I've never been on a train. So I was just, not that I've never been on a train, but I've never been on a train in India yet. So I didn't quite understand the ticket itself. So we were finding it hard to read the ticket, but we did ask someone. At last, we got a little bit of help and they told us to go to aisle 13 or something.
So we were at our correct platform.
Yes.
We're sitting on our bags. We're just waiting for the train to arrive.
We are. We're sitting there and it's just Elise and I because we could only get 2 tickets.
That's right.
So Elise's friend and her mom flew. But I really wanted this train experience. So we took the train. They flew. Price-wise, pretty much the same, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
So, but we did this train and we were leaving at night. So we would arrive in the morning.
That's right.
We took the train all night. So we're sitting there, just sitting on our luggage, and we see a train coming. And when you're looking at the train, you can see the number.
Yes.
And that number was our train. And we were like, oh, great, this is our train. And it's starting to slow down. It's starting to pull up. You can keep telling the story, Elise.
It's starting to pull up. And, typically you wait until the train stops before you start to get onto the train.
Typically, yeah.
So then the train is coming up and all of these people just start swarming the train and jumping into the windows of these carts. And we're thinking, do we have to
jump? Because we had our backpacks. And so we were just getting up. And I was literally like, oh my goodness, do we have to jump onto the...
Is it not going to stop?
No one told us. Everyone just started jumping. And so we were getting our backpacks on. Okay, we're going to have to jump. Well, then we started realizing the numbers.
Yes.
So then we saw the number and it was, let's say it's 321, train 321. And it said 6, 321, 5. So then we realized, we're looking for 3212. Right. Everyone was jumping onto 3216 because that was a non-reserved train. So you can get on the train first come, first serve. And that's why everyone was jumping on the train because they wanted to get on
They wanted to get on the train, but I had never seen anything like that in my life.
Never. And never since. Yeah, never. So then we ended up getting on our train and finding our seat. And it was air conditioned, which was lovely.
That was lovely, yes.
We didn't realize that. So we did get on the train and they had some really great food too.
They did.
Which I thought was awesome. People tried to take our seats a few times.
Right. Yeah. I think we didn't really know how it worked in terms of the bunks. And we had only one bunk, one bed period. Because
between the two of us or something. Yes. But people were sitting on our bunk and we had to kick them off. Say, excuse me, this is ours. So you do not get up because no one, some people didn't have seats. So they just try and take seats that weren't being used. But we ever so nicely kicked them off our bed. And we also, the food was so phenomenal. I thought we'd just have, chips and peanuts and that kind of thing.
Nope,
but
not in India. It was full curry. It was delicious.
It was so good. And when you go to the bathroom, it's just a hole in the ground.
That's right. Onto the tracks.
You can see the tracks. I'm afraid that I don't really want to sit on it because I'm going to fall through and my butt's going to hit the tracks.
And that was the bathroom labeled Western style.
Yes.
So that meant that it had a physical toilet that you could sit on, whereas the non-Western style was a squatter.
It was. Yeah. And needless to say, I was afraid that the toilet was going to fall right through the ground. And wow, that was an experience.
It was an experience. I do love
so
trains,
great.
though. I think it's one of my favorite ways to travel throughout a country.
Me too. I love trains.
You get to see the landscape of the country really nicely, and it's just such a smooth way to travel. So that's really nice.
It was nice. Varanasi, worth the trip.
Definitely.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds.
Today's interview is in many areas of wellness because today we're talking about volunteering. It is great to give back to the community and to get involved, but also we're going to be talking about what you get out of it. Today we have Kate Flanagan here. She was born and raised in Kitchener-Waterloo. She is a 23-year-old graduate of the University of Waterloo. She majored in biomedical sciences and minored in human nutrition. Welcome, Katie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so great to have you. The reason why we are here today is because Katie is an avid volunteer. She volunteers almost every day and she has quite a list of different groups. So we thought we'd ask her about that and get her input on all that's going on in Kitchener-Waterloo. We will start with some of the groups that she volunteers at. So let's start with Sanguine Health Center. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Sanguine. Sanguine is a health center. I volunteer on their van portion. They have many different aspects and are doing a lot around in the community, especially with hepatitis and also supporting the unhoused, homeless population. And they do a lot of harm prevention and reduction around drugs and those experiencing addiction. Where I volunteer on the van, they go out to different areas around the region. We go to Cambridge, Kitchener, and a few other areas. I usually do the Cambridge area. The part I volunteer on is where we are giving out food and hygiene products to anyone who comes to the van. All are welcome. You do not have to have a certain criteria, and you can go to all aspects of the van or just one area of the van.
So how big is this van?
It's not too big. It's like just a white, like kind of almost like the mailing truck, like
Yeah.
that
Okay. Like a
size.
cube van kind of?
Yes, exactly. And on the back is where the harm reduction side of the van is. They'll have a nurse there, some experienced people, so previous drug users, and also just other aid workers and usually a social worker. They'll all be at the back of the van. There'll be the volunteers doing food, which is where I am at the side of the van. And then sometimes we'll also have a clothing van that follows behind us and they give out clothing.
Wow, that's awesome. This health center that they do they do certain tests and do they hand out
Yeah.
drugs or do like...
Yeah. So I haven't been to the center because that's not where I volunteer, but I do make the kits and stuff that we give out that will have different supplies needed for people who are drug users just to make it as safe as possible for them and reduce the chance of infection. Because if you're using clean supplies, it's going to be a lot safer for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like at the center, they give out different kits and stuff to help people. And then they test and do whatever you need kind of thing.
Awesome. And they probably will also hook you up with anything else that you need to
Yeah, that's
help
right.
you.
Support resources.
Yeah, support. Yeah. And when did you start doing this?
I've been doing this, I want to say, not quite a year yet. I started around December, I think, or just before then. I started off making the kits before I did my van training, and then I've been on the van since about December.
That's awesome. And how did you hear about this group?
I believe on social media. Yeah.
You wanted to help the homeless and...
Yeah. The reason I wanted to get involved with this is because of the large homeless population I was seeing in Kitchener, especially passing the encampments and just knowing how the increase in drug use and like basically the epidemic after the pandemic. And I just felt like it was impacting so many people and I wasn't doing anything to help it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to do my part and feel like I was doing something.
Well, that is great. And so you just called them up and said you'd like to volunteer, and like how does that happen? Just if people wanted to do something like that.
Yeah, so usually I just email or go to their website. If they have a specific volunteer column, I'll put my name in that. Sometimes they'll reach out right away if they are in need of volunteers. Sometimes you might have to wait a little bit depending on when their training is. And also, like, if they have an Instagram account, you can just DM them. There's really so many ways.
Wow, that's awesome. And how long was the training?
For this training, it wasn't too bad. I think I did 2 different sessions, and they're usually virtual, so really accessible to anyone.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, way to go, Katie. Okay, so the next volunteer that you do, and these are all things that she presently does. So I just thought it was pretty cool how much Katie does, and we should hopefully get involved and get people interested in volunteering, because it is really great to be out there and to learn so much from all these different volunteer groups, and just to know that they're out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even I get into something because I'm kind of passionate about it, or I have a soft spot for it, but I learn so much every single time, and it's like I'm getting as much out of it as I'm giving.
Mm-hmm. So the next one is you volunteer at a lab. This is a nutrition and aging lab. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so that I got involved with because it was one of my professors at school, Heather Keller. She's really amazing. And she did work in nutrition and aging. She's actually a dietitian herself. So I got involved with this lab. I just reached out to her seeing if I could help out, because aging and the elderly population is really understudied in terms of nutrition, and there's a really big need for it. So I've been lucky enough to do both placements with this lab and volunteering, just depending on the time of year.
Great. And what do you get out of that?
That I definitely get a lot of learning out of, because there's a lot of different undergrad students, master's students, professional people like dietitians, speech pathologists, and other people. So I'm always learning in that lab. And then it's also really eye-opening just to see the different areas that need more work. And hopefully I'll be able to bring that into my own career eventually.
That's fabulous. And the next one, which I thought was very interesting, this is called Mamas to Mamas. And Katie, being a 23-year-old, doesn't have children. So that's really interesting that you got involved with this group. So tell us about it.
Yeah, this one I would say I'm most involved with and have been involved for the longest. I think I started in like 2019 or 2020. I actually heard about this a long time ago from social media as well, because they started in BC and now are nationwide and have different branches all over the place. When it was COVID in particular, I was looking for somewhere to volunteer, and not everywhere was accepting volunteers. And I reached out to Mamas from Mamas KW and started at their branch. I run their social media, and I also am a team lead, so I kind of hop all over the place doing different events and stuff like that. We are a Fill the Gap program. We're called Mamas for Mamas, but we support any caregivers and all families, and that can be with any poverty-related issue or financial issue. We have a large Facebook group where moms and families can get connected, get advice, and then we also support people in crisis, giving a lot of hygiene products, food products. We have different events. We're running right now a back to school event, and that's collecting back to school supplies. And we're going to set that up with kids in need. So when they go back to school, they have what they need. Because it can cost like almost $500 to get all your school supplies. And that's just not feasible for a lot of people. Supporting people with really anything they come to us with, anything they need. Yeah.
So this group, how do they get their products? And then how do you get people connected to the groups?
Okay, so first we have a social worker on our team. Our branch is all volunteers, but she has a list of resources that we will always resource out. So if another organization is already doing something, we don't need to do that too, but we need to connect people so they know. So we always are connecting people to different resources, and then we fill the gaps in between. So we'll connect people with the food bank And if they're still not able to get there, whether it's through transportation or they went that week and they just couldn't feed enough for their family, then we'll fill the gap with the food we have. All our stuff is donation. So we also have a partnership volunteer, and she's always on the ground running, looking for different partnerships that we can use. And we also really are supported by the community. So like, for example, our program we're running right now, we have different bins out at different local businesses. So people can go in there and drop off some school supplies that we can then give out.
Right. And your clothing that you do, is it all new clothing or secondhand clothing or?
No, we can have new clothing donated. We can also have secondhand clothing donated as long as it's in good condition.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, a lot of kids are growing out of things so quickly, and it's amazing. We just pass it down to the next person who needs it.
Right. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that prom dress event that you had. I thought that was really interesting and cool.
Yeah, so we did a prom drive, and that was actually our first time doing it at our branch this year. And we were really pumped about that because basically we had put out a call out on both our social media and different platforms that we were doing a prom drive. So that's collecting prom dresses, both for grade 8 students, grade 12 students, or anyone who needs one. And we also collected a few suits. So basically, if you are in need of a prom dress, because they are very expensive and not feasible for a lot of people, and we want everyone to be able to participate in the event if they want to. So we had a collection of, I believe we collected over 300 dresses.
Wow.
And then we had an event where people signed up and they came, they tried on a bunch of different dresses, picked out the ones that were right for them. And I believe everyone except 2 people who came to the event found a dress they wanted. So we were really happy with that.
That is so exciting. And not only that, they got the prom experience. They actually went there and you guys had someone specifically for them to help them dress and pick out dresses, and they had mirrors and, they got to say, I love this. It looks amazing, and take it home. That's so great. And the other thing that I find is I agree with you that you buy these prom dresses or even bridesmaid dresses. There's all these fancy dresses that you have. And then what do you do with them? So this is such a great opportunity for people to give back very simply, but also help people.
Yeah, like those dresses in your closet that you're never going to wear again, but could really make someone else happy. Might as well put them to good use.
Yeah, so that is an excellent event. And the last one we're going to talk about is SASC. So this is a sexual assault support center for the Waterloo region. And this is the last one that you volunteer for.
Yeah, so this one is really cool too. I volunteer with them every Monday, and I do the support line. So that is, we have a 24-hour access support line where anyone can call in if they need support around sexual assault, sexual violence, or really anything they want to chat about. So I'll get calls throughout that time, usually 1 to 2 per session. And they range in time span from like a 5-minute call to a 30-minute or beyond call. And I'm usually supporting people, either connecting them with resources in the community or directly through SASC. And also just a lot of people need to talk things out and validating them, hearing their experience, because these people have been through a lot.
Wow, really cool. So how did you get involved in this group?
So this group I got involved with because I have a passion for women and supporting young females specifically. And I just wanted to support in that area any way I could. And I had been on their wait list for a while. Their training is pretty extensive.
Yeah, I would agree that it probably is.
Yeah, so we have to do, I think I did about 6 weeks of training with 2 sessions each week. And you're learning about a lot of different stuff. And it's a great learning experience. And I just wanted to support people experiencing sexual assault or sexual violence because I think it's very impacts your life in an extreme way. And I just want to support those people. Anyway.
That is amazing. And you do that once a week for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow, good for you. So that is all the volunteering that Katie does, and so different. Like every single one of them kind of hits a different category. So it's really interesting. Keeps your heart really full. You're really giving back. Good for you, Katie. Now we are at the end of the interview, and I have a question, which I'm not sure if you've heard about before, if you've ever heard it on our show. This is like a mini wellness check-in. Are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of one thing that you can do to foster wellness in that area?
I can for sure think of many things. So I've been studying for an exam that I've been putting a lot of work into, and I just wrote it. So I feel like I've definitely been neglecting a lot of different areas while I'm putting all my focus on studying, and even before that on school.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to prioritize both my mental, physical health, and social experiences. I want to get some more sleep and take care of myself, but also make sure I'm interacting with all the people I love, seeing my family more, and just doing some more fun things.
That would be great, Katie, because you have been working so hard on that exam, and you do so much work for everyone else. You need to think about yourself a little bit and get your mental health and social health. I hope that goes really well in the next few months, because you're going to take some time off school now.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, take a little time off. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. This went great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of the Adventures of the Starving Artist. So I'm not a juggler, nor am I a hat collector, but I have yet another ball in the air and yet another hat to wear. My teaching job is changing quite a bit, and I'm being moved into more of a managerial position, which is, to be honest with you, something I never thought I would do, but here we are. And so it's kind of working out in my favor. The summertime's in full swing, and with that, a lot of the students I have take the summer off or take, a few weeks off. And so my lesson schedule really drops in the summertime, and that's to be expected. But it works out because now I have all this upfront learning stuff to do for the new responsibilities in my job, and I have the time to do it. So it's been oddly smooth that way, which is a great surprise. I wasn't expecting that. But like I said, it's yet another hat to wear, so I'm learning all this crazy stuff like the back-end software for scheduling the teachers. I'm conducting interviews to hire other teachers. All kinds of new stuff that, like I said, I didn't expect I'd ever be doing, but we're doing it. Here we are. Add it to the list, right? It's kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see how the new position continues to unfold. I've been enjoying it so far, and we'll see what it has in store. On the performance front, played a nice little patio set yesterday at the Heart and Crown pub here out in Barhaven. A little 5 to 8 session, perfect weather, decent turnout, good tunes, cold beer, great way to spend a Saturday. And I'm recording this on a Sunday, and this is the first day I've had in a while where I just have some free time, and I am gonna live it up. I'm gonna do whatever I want and be a person, and at the moment, that means doing absolutely nothing. So I'm going to get to it. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We're glad you're here, and we hope you're making wellness a priority. Hope you're getting something out of the podcast. And especially for people who are new, you might not know that the podcast was inspired by my book, Accidentally Well by John Webster. It's available on Amazon, Indigo, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere where you can buy books online. And this is my pitch for you to buy a copy and have a read. I think it'll enhance the experience of the podcast, and it will also help us defray some costs because it's really expensive putting out a podcast. So grab a copy if you can, and in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the show.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
When we're recording this, it's just at the start of pool season. We're just getting the pool going. I wanted to say that there's a lot of more things you can do in a pool other than swim lengths.
Yeah.
Or even just swim generally. And the one thing I really love, and I never realized until we had a pool, was how great it is just to cool off, like just to jump in for 5 minutes, either after a run or you're doing yard work and you're really hot, or just it's really hot. Or for you in the middle of the night, if you get too hot, you go downstairs and jump in the pool. Lots of stuff you can do in a pool other than lengths.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's not just cooling you off. Like, 'cause you know how they talk about taking a cold shower and what that does? It calms you down. It also does other things. The cold water calms your muscles down and calms your nervous system down. That was great for me. Like when I come home from work after working 10 hours or 12 hours, my legs are sore and you're hot. So just jumping in the pool and it just being a little cool just calms you down. Sometimes I don't even want to get out, even though I'm exhausted. Like I want to go to bed, but I don't want to get out of the pool.
Sometimes you're talking 2 o'clock in the morning.
Which I never used to do when I was young. We weren't allowed to swim in the pool. Once we closed it at night, you're not allowed to swim, but I love swimming at night now. We have lights on our pool so we can turn the lights on and you're just sitting there and floating in. It's just so calm and relaxing.
I'm one of these wimps who doesn't like getting in cold water. So I would go for a long run. I'd be super hot and I would just go take a shower. But Sheila teased me enough times that I finally jumped in and man, what a difference it makes. Now I'm looking forward to it at the end of a hot run. I'm imagining being in the pool, which maybe even helps me at the end of my run. And when I jump in, you're right. Like I'm thinking of that kind of buzzy leg feeling. And then you get in there and it's like, and it just cools you right to the core.
It's really awesome. Now there are other things you could do in the pool besides just swimming and doing lengths. Have you ever done water aerobics?
Well, is that where you have that kind of blow up thing and you lie on it and you have a beer and you just lie there and
that's exactly what it
drink
is.
beer? Because that's a good thing to do in a pool. But
I mean,
I've never done water aerobics.
You've never, because that's
I don't
great
think
too.
so.
No, like you can do like running on the spot or running back and forth and you're doing your lengths, or you can do like lateral leg lifts or even just like lifting your legs because the resistance is different in the water, obviously, because there's no gravity. It is really fun to do too. So it's nice because it's cool, right? So you're cooling off, but you're actually working out. So it's fun.
Actually, the closest I ever came to that, I've been lucky to avoid injuries, but one time I did have a bit of a tweak in my leg. And I remember just kind of walking and running in the pool a little bit just to see how it felt with that kind of, what do you call that when you're kind of floating a little bit? That buoyancy. But I have never actually done, I know sometimes we're on vacation and everyone's in the pool doing that stuff.
Yeah, doing their aerobics.
Yeah, I'm doing my chaise lounge aerobics at that point.
Yeah, I love doing water aerobics. It's a lot of fun. But a lot of people who are professional athletes, they do a lot of repairing in the water, right? If they've broken their ankle or if they've injured themselves, they'll be running in the water because there's zero gravity. It helps. So you don't have the weight on your ankle and your...
I don't think it's zero gravity. That's more like space, but it's a lot less.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not zero gravity. Yeah,
that's kind of fun. Can you think of anything else?
Well, what about water polo? I've never done it, or that's kind of fun in the pool.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to get into that synchronized swimming and water polo.
I love watching synchronized swimming. And I love pretending that I'm doing synchronized swimming.
I don't do synchronized swimming, but sometimes I like to stand on my hands or something like that.
Like I don't know, were you ever in the pool where you compete against the person beside you? You're like, okay, do this, and then you'd go upside down and you do like, I'll just say some beats, then a split, then a beats, then a twist, and then you make the other person do it, and then you keep going until someone loses.
I think if you really want to have fun in the pool, you got to watch kids in the pool.
Yes.
Do what they do, because what you're talking to reminds me of when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be fun to do, one day. Like you said to yourself, whatever those kids do, we're going to do.
Yeah.
We should try that.
Yeah, we should.
The only problem is, for whatever reason now, it always feels like the water's going to my ears or up my nose. And did it happen when I was a kid and I just didn't care?
Yes.
And now I'm just too fussy. I don't like that.
Yes.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. You hear people say, it really makes me feel alive. It's great to feel alive. And what's amazing is how that, in my own mind, has changed over time, especially since I got on this journey where I do a lot of physical activity. So long time ago, I might have thought, oh yeah, I get it kind of, maybe if you're on a motorcycle and you're going really fast and you're living on the edge, maybe you feel really alive there. Or you're one of these older guys, the old guy with the young guy's fast car. I'm driving fast. It makes me feel alive. Not very practical because where can you actually drive fast? But you hear this in this different context. So now I'm being more physical and I'm like, I know when I feel most alive, and it's amazing. I feel most alive when I'm moving my body. I feel most alive, especially when I'm doing something like running or biking at a decent enough pace where I'm needing to do the deep breathing, and I can actually sense the oxygen turning into energy. I know that sounds crazy, but I can feel it. And there's nothing that makes me feel more alive than taking in oxygen when I'm working out, like on a run, and I'm like, yes, that is the energy I need to keep going. That feels so good. I can almost taste it. So I love the way that I feel alive has changed for me from something kind of theoretical and having to do with almost something maybe artificial or trying to amp up your adrenaline by some kind of activity into something very real where I can feel my actual body being alive, taking things in. It's me.
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin. I thought we could talk about fireworks today.
I'd like to. You pointed out some concerns you had, and then I found some articles. Mm-hmm. I was shocked. And it's one of those things where just because something's happened for so many years doesn't mean we have to be sticks in the mud and never change.
Right. So a lot of states have moved to drones instead of fireworks for a few reasons. And the main one is because environmentally we're warming up. And so forest fires are more prone. So they're afraid of fireworks.
From what I read, there's a few concerns environmentally. One is that it can start forest fires. Mm-hmm. And to a lesser degree, but still a degree, there's smoke. So smoke fills the air, and that's not great either.
No, for pollution too.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But to me, the bigger concern was when you told me the impact on animals. I had no idea.
Me neither. I had no idea until someone told me that a horse died. And in 2022, last year, a horse in Nova Scotia died from fireworks.
That is a huge issue. The thing that really shocked me, I had no idea. So first of all, it starts talking about pets.
Yeah.
Something like 50% of dogs and a huge percentage of cats. And they're hiding in bathtubs and they're really scared. Mm-hmm. Then they start talking about wild animals and they can't even really gauge what's going on.
Right.
But they have birds flying so far out to sea, they can't get back. They have animals scattering in all directions. It's really scary. And it's just something that I never thought of. And the way the one article talked about it was, and I think fairly, it's kind of ego, right?
Right.
Like we just like seeing things explode in the sky. We like seeing all the colors. And I love it too. It's amazing. We used to go down to the Toronto over the water. They had the firework display synced to classical music. Mm-hmm. Really is amazing. And it really blows my mind what people can do. But it's not worth it to me.
It's not worth it. So environmentally, it's not worth it. And then the animals and also people. Some people who have PTSD, it affects, or if you're sensitive to sound, for a lot of reasons, fireworks can be very harmful to you as well. And animals that are running or birds that are flying, they'll flock by the hundreds into people. So there's that too.
In terms of people, a friend of mine who I won't name, but they said their son, they would bring them to fireworks thinking it was an amazing thing. The son wasn't having a great time. And then they realized, and he's on the autism spectrum, he was having a horrible time. Mm-hmm. Like it was like the worst thing they could do.
Yeah, very interesting.
And meanwhile, on the upside, we're so advanced now with drone technology. You can have amazing shows that are quiet without all the explosions.
And you can reuse them.
Yeah, I'm sure, because they're reusable. I'm sure it's really complicated. You need some pretty brilliant people to be able to have that many things going at the same time.
Right.
But it sure would make me feel more comfortable if a lot of places would start moving towards that and away from fireworks altogether.
That would be awesome, because their shows are really quite cool as drones, but there's no sound. So that is a good thing because of all the animals and this and the people, but it is probably something that we look forward to, that big bang and that that sound of fireworks. But it's also environmental because you said the smoke and the fire. And I'm pretty sure it's financial too. Fireworks are incredibly expensive.
Well, I don't know about that. So I'm not going to comment just because I have no idea what's more expensive.
We didn't read anything about financial,
Right.
So I'm not sure, but it is expensive. Like we know because we've actually bought fireworks and, the cost of fireworks are enormous. So for cities that are doing the budgets, I'm wondering if drones are cheaper.
Yeah, it's a good point. I just want to track back to the environment. This is another example to me where the world's been operating in a certain way for a long time. I'm not going to say centuries because a lot of the crap that's happening has only been happening for the last 150 years.
Yeah, true.
We've been getting worse. It's been happening for a long time, and part of our brains can't even go towards changing away from stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have to completely dynamically shift the way we approach things so that we can start living more at harmony with our planet.
Yeah, we have to.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way. Well, that's a wrap on episode 80. It's John here for sign off with Sheila and Elise.
Hi.
Hello.
What a great weekend we had. It's a long weekend up here. We were in Collingwood for 3 days visiting Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lori. And we had just such a great active weekend. I wanted to go up there and kind of eat healthy and do lots of physical activity. And that's what we got to do. So there was biking. I didn't swim, but there was running and biking and going for walks. And we did some kayaking. And I'm really enjoying the weight training. I used the gym up there and actually did barbell exercises when I almost always do dumbbell. And that was really fun too, I thought. And I'm starting to really feel great in terms of my muscles after a few weeks of weight training. So I just had a really fantastic weekend. I feel refreshed, ready for work this week. How about you, Shil?
Oh, I had a great time too. A few things. One, we've never been up there in the summer, really.
Right.
So it was awesome to be able to go into the water. It was actually warm, which really surprised me. So that was really lovely, going kayaking and just seeing the sunset and sitting at the beach. We had a great time doing that. I had a little bit of an issue because we were very active. And the third activity we did one day was playing tennis. And my knee was hurting a little bit, but I was just like, oh, it's just tired. And it got worse and worse while I was playing tennis. And we were doing really well. But then all of a sudden, I think it was just a distraction. So I stopped, but then within an hour I couldn't walk. So the next day I was in pretty rough shape. So I was hitting myself thinking I should have listened to my body a little bit more, because now my knee has gone back to worse than it was when I first injured it. But it's going to be a healing week for me this week. But it was really wonderful to be up in Collingwood. What about you, Elise? What's new with you?
Well, I had a lovely weekend. We had Steven's siblings come up. So that was really great to have them. They were visiting from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so much fun to have guests come and visit because you get to show off your favorite places where you live. So we spent a lot of time on Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. We were in the water every day. We were out hiking, and it was just really great to celebrate where we live.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of fun with that. And it was the first time we really had guests stay in our house for a longer period of time. So that was really neat. I was a little worried to see how it would go, but it was so great. And it just makes me really appreciate the house that we have.
That's great.
Amazing.
And I must say the weather was really nice.
Yeah, great weather this
Great
weekend.
weather. When we got up there, it rained a little as soon as we got up there. And then on the way home, as soon as we left, it started raining. But other than that, we were just sunny and beautiful and warm, and then cool. And then at night to sleep, it was great. So I'm glad your siblings got to enjoy that as well.
Me too. We were so lucky with the weather because all of our plans were outdoors. We didn't really have any backup plans.
Right.
So we lucked out.
That's great.
No plan B. Okay.
Nope.
Well, that was great. I really enjoyed listening to you guys talking about Varanasi on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Kate's interview was really interesting. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.